now going live on YouTube. Okay. Okay, so let's start our May meeting. Yay, we're having a May meeting. I'm so excited. Hi, everyone. We have a couple announcements before we get going. We can all wave, yeah. Oops. Oh, wait, now I gotta. Okay, so let's start our May meeting. Yay, we're having a May meeting. I'm so excited.
What progressive women we are.
Hi, everyone. Okay, so I guess that opened YouTube and it was playing. Okay, so the first announcement I have is that Sheila put out an email about the summer planting. So it had been intended to happen, but obviously we're gonna continue to follow the governor's recommendations. And so when it's the right time to do summer planting, Sheila will arrange to have a summer planting event where we will still do social distancing and wear masks and all of that, but be able to plant downtown. Susan wanted me to bring up that we should all be using our sunscreen when we get outside to garden, especially because we've been inside so much. So her recommendation is to put your bottle of sunscreen next to your gardening gloves or, you know, whatever it is that you grab before you go out to garden. And so I thought that was worthwhile to pass on because we want to keep ourselves safe in many ways. Linda V let me know that the senior center is putting on a Zoom training in the early June, like week and a half. So obviously all of us found our way onto Zoom, but if you know anybody who wasn't able to do this meeting because they're not confident with Zoom, please pass that information on and they can get a training. I also wanted to just mention that usually after this meeting, we start to have member garden tours. And so it's obviously we will not be doing that right now, but as the summer goes along, it may be possible to start having people come view your garden in some fashion. And so Erlina, are you still our coordinator for that?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So if you decide that you'd like to open up your garden, then you can contact Arlena with the date and the time, and she can put out the information about that. Doris.
Oh, Deanne? Do you mean Deanne?
No, Doris raised her hand.
Oh, I raised my hand too.
Yep.
No, I had canceled my hand raised.
Okay, it's still up.
Thank you.
Okay, Deanne?
What's the name of the person coordinating the garden tours?
Erlina.
Erlina. Okay,
Yes.
Erlina.
On your screen.
Yes.
Jameson.
Oh, Jameson. Okay, sorry.
I'm Erlina.
Hi, Arlene.
Oh, hi.
I couldn't see your face for a while.
And Judy, you have your hand up too?
Yeah, so I just wanted to mention at this juncture, I don't know how many people followed the real link to Joyce Hannaford's garden tour. I sent out one mistake. Well, it was a link to a photo. I sent it out last night. I sent it BCC and I did get some comments from people, so it looks like it was successful. Joyce is happy to have individual people stop by at a time that's convenient for them. If you've never been to her garden and you need a boost, this is a really good time of year to do that. But I also offered in that email, if you have things in your garden that you think are pretty cool and you want to share it and you don't feel comfortable with your photographic and posting skills, I would be happy to come over and do a couple of pictures, a lot of pictures, whatever. I would be happy to do a photographic tour of your garden in the interim too. There is a website with the Google album that people have sent some contributions to. Thank you. I don't know if people find it useful. I hope so. Keeps me happy and busy.
Thanks, Judy. You are next on my list to remind people that if they had photos to send them forward to you so they could get added to that Google album. Which I think that in this time of finding ways to stay connected and to share with each other, and, I think that's a great idea. And so thank you for bringing that to us. And the last thing I have on my list is to talk about the sale. So you've been all getting lots of emails, hopefully, about the sale. There's going to be an amazing catalog that will have pictures of most things and descriptions of what's available. And it's going to be eventually posted on the website under the link. It's the link called programs. And then there's a next tag is annual auction and sale. And so if you go there, the catalog will be linked there. That's correct, Linda, right?
Yes, when they send it to me, I'll put it out there. Yeah.
Perfect. So that will go there. And then there'll be further instructions about how you email to indicate if you want to purchase anything. So that's how it will go as far as buying the things. But of course, right now we're in the stage of finding what we have to sell. And we have a number of plants from Frank, who's not a member, but has donated plants for many years now to our auction. And so we already have a catalog of all of the things that he is donating, but we also want to include things from our gardens as we have in the past for the auction. So do what you normally do for the auction. And oops, somebody just donated. And send the email to the donate plants email. And that way it can get included into the catalog. Catherine sent an email, I think it was either yesterday or this morning, about other ideas, like not necessarily digging up your plant, but you can take a picture of it that you want to sell. And then once somebody indicates they want to buy it, then it can be dug up. So that we can do it that way too. So you don't have to do like the auction where you dig everything up and pot it and find a place to store it.
Good idea.
Catherine, was that all good? Was there more?
No, that was perfect. Thank you. Oh, well, one thing. Jill mentioned back to me and said, if what you think you're going to dig up is a shrub, it would be a great thing right now to root prune it. And there's a method for doing that, and I will send it out in the next email, but it sounds like a very easy thing to do, and it doesn't involve a whole lot of work right now. It's just get a shovel and walk around, stomp the shovel into the soil all the way around the plant, a foot or so from the stem, and that encourages it to grow lots of new roots close to the base of the shrub to reduce transplant shock. And I only knew about doing this when you wanted to grab a dogwood from the wild because they have connected roots, and if you started to take one up, most of its roots would belong to the rest of the plants in the string. But I never thought about doing it now. So I have a hydrangea that is going to get pruned tomorrow, root pruned tomorrow. Cool. Stomping is a good thing.
In life, health-wise.
I'm sorry?
Okay, I just want to go back to the garden tours. Erlina is asking me that there's an email address that's mentioned in the newsletter if you want to set up a garden tour of your own garden, to use that one.
Oh, I'm sorry, Laurie, that's about people realizing they're not supposed to send me their donated plant information.
Okay. Yeah.
That it needs to have a number before I get it, so.
Yeah, okay. That's why I was confused. I didn't think there was another email about garden tours. So right, the email to Erlina's working on the catalog, but you don't send it to Erlina, you send it to donateplants@nativegardenclub.org. We set up special email accounts for the sale, which was cool, very cool. Okay, does anyone have any questions about anything or any other announcements? Okay. All right. So, oh wait, did we ever announce that we did this scholarship? I don't know that we did, so.
No, I didn't want to put out the names because we're not awarding it until after the 27th.
Okay. But we
two people from Natick High School will receive the scholarship.
Yeah, so for people who are not on the board, you not aware, but this year we are giving 2 scholarships instead of 1, and they're both going to Natick High School students. We had a really excellent group of students apply this year, and a larger group of students this year than last. So I think that's good for future years. Yeah. All right, so Catherine, I'm turning this over to you for our Ask the Gardener event.
Okay. So everybody who bothered to read the newsletter or was indoors and had some time and read it, saw that there were 6 topic groups, and we're going to start. I wanted to start with one of the most pressing, because if we're going to plant seeds, now's the time. And Erlina had a bunch of questions on seeds, and nobody said they wanted to answer these questions. So I'm just going to say what they are and hope people will raise hands and offer advice. First of all, is it too late to grow flowers from seed? That was most critical. And then the other questions were easiest perennials, easiest annuals to grow from seed, and great source of online seeds. So I can't see hand raises, so that means you get to pick people, Laurie, based on hand raises. Don't all speak at once now. Okay.
Oh,
We aren't.
all right, there we go. Judy's got her hand up.
I did unmute myself too. So just because I hate silence, I thought I would jump in. So Erlina, I don't do a lot of flowers from seed. I did do some, and I did do a number of veggies this year. I just shut my lights off today. So I think at this point, direct sowing outside is still worth it. But I also have never tried to grow perennials from seed except for that orange butterfly weed bush, which was a mistake because it took over my front bed. I do have a number of seeds like zinnias and calendulas and some little fluffy blue thing that self-seed in my yard, and they just sort of come up every year. But I think some annuals and sunflowers are pretty easy to grow outside. Usually I've seeded those directly outside. So I hope that gives you some stuff to go on. I don't know if many of us use seed directly outside.
Yeah, I was just
Pat?
wondering because I normally buy bare roots or things like that. And my husband said, why don't you try growing from seed to save money? So I said I would ask to see if other people do that in the club. So
Pat has her hand up.
Hi, I started seeds. I have an arrow garden and I use it for seed starting, not for stuff during the year. And that's worked very well for me because they grow very fast. I also threw some seeds in a pot this year, a couple of weeks ago, and they're coming up nicely. And I also have an area now that's vacant, and I'm going to try throwing flower seeds on it. So next year I'll have a good answer on that, but I am going to try this year. But as far as seed starting, I really like my arrow garden because you can put it anywhere. It's small and you don't need a lot. You just plug it in. So if anybody wants to start seeds, and you can buy something that it's foam, a styrofoam type thing, and it has about 50 spots for putting your seeds in. So you can get a lot of stuff out in a very, very short time.
okay.
Pat, can you spell that?
What, the arrow garden?
Yeah.
AERO
Oh,
GARDEN.
okay.
Miracle Grow. You'll find it anywhere.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
I mean, you find it anywhere on the internet. Let's put it that way.
Doris, you have your hand up.
Yes, I sow my seeds for the old standbys, zinnia, cosmos, and marigold. I wait until usually around May 30th, the traditional Memorial Day, when the soil temperature has gone up a bit, and I sow them directly into the ground. My biggest problem are birds and chipmunks eating the little seedlings coming up. But you get a little bit later crop. It's great when you buy the little plants at the garden store because they're already just about ready to bud when you put them in the ground. But if you plant a whole package of multicolor zinnias, you get a gorgeous display. Maybe not until the end of August, but it's really quite lovely. And I've done the usually just those old traditional, sometimes like bachelor buttons and that, and had really pretty good luck with sowing directly into the ground.
Okay, thank you.
Beth?
Yeah, you asked for a good source, and I would go to Johnny's Seeds. They mail out the catalog Christmas time or so, and you have lots and lots of choice and good descriptions, and their seeds are really good. You get enough to share them with people too, so the prices are fine.
Okay.
Okay, that was all I had.
Jean?
Oh, hi. I think I mentioned this last year, but I'll mention it again. I don't do flower seeds other than sunflower seeds that I plant around this time of year. But I've always done like spinach seeds, and I've sowed those in the fall and then covered them with some hay. And this year I did that with lettuce too, and I just covered it with hay, and it came up all by itself in the spring. So I have like lettuce growing and I have spinach growing that I really didn't have to do too much to, except for plant the seeds in the fall. So I don't know if it works for flower seeds, but I suppose you could try it. I
Okay.
knew I had some marigolds and they kind of came up again too. So it's worth a try if you want to try it. And I just get my seeds from Burpee. So
Okay.
nothing special.
Great.
Thank
Anybody else?
you.
I had a question. How do the seeds work with bark mulch or leaf mulch or whatever you might put down? Would they just sprinkle it into leaf mulch on top?
Are you talking to me?
Whoever has an answer.
I would not sow them on, I sow them into soil, and I usually sprinkle a little good potting soil along the line. When I dig a little trench to put the seeds in, I put a little half-inch sprinkle of potting soil, not into mulch. You can't plus the pH, it may be too harsh on the little seedlings. So I would, marigolds, now they're pretty hardy. And I usually save my marigold seeds from the year before. But zinnias and most of the others, I use some potting soil to give them a little buffer zone.
Thank you.
Melanie, I had zinnia and calendula and sunflowers that I seeded last year, and I use leaf mulch, and I have bunches of them poking up through the leaf
good.
mulch.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I don't use bark mulch, so I don't know what effect that would have, but
Yeah, I use leaf mulch too. Mhm.
yes, and it seems, it's not a huge layer, but they seem pretty happy growing in that stuff too. So I imagine if, as Doris said, you sort of scratched a little bit below it and put them in, they would probably manage.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay. I took notes, so nobody has to remember this.
That's great. I started to take notes, Catherine. Then I remembered that we're recording this, so there'll be a recording of it too.
Yeah, right. But I grabbed links anyway. Okay, so if anybody here has a way to get rid of the crazy snakeworm, or if anybody is seeing it in their yard.
What?
I have not, so I can't offer anything about this, but it was a topic that we had left over from last year, and Marcy Saper said she really wanted to hear about it. So if anybody can offer a way to get rid of this thing, apparently it's, if it gets to your yard, so.
So you cut out Catherine, but
Oh, sorry.
that's okay. Anne has her hand up.
I hope I'm unmuted.
You are.
Okay. Basically, I think I sent somebody, and I don't know who it was, an article that appeared in the Boston Globe probably a year or 2 years ago that described a treatment for the snakeworms, and I certainly have plenty of them in my yard. What I do rather than doing that treatment, if I'm digging and I find a snakeworm, I generally have a zippered plastic bag, a small one around, and I dump the worm into the plastic bag, close the zipper, and leave it out in the sun. And that ends up killing them. If you have them, you certainly don't want them.
What do they look like?
They look like a regular worm. They wiggle a lot, but they have a white band somewhere close to one end of the, it's not in the middle, it's closer to one end or the other.
And
It's
how
really
big
wiggle,
are they?
right?
They're good size. They're the size of, the regular worms that people use for fishing. They're about that size.
Oh, like 5 or 6 inches long?
Yeah,
Oh,
and they move like crazy.
And you really, do you have a lot of them in your yard? I've never seen them, fingers crossed.
Well, you don't want to see them. Yes, I have a fair number. Although actually I haven't seen any this year. I had a fair number in the past, but I haven't done too much digging yet.
What do they do?
Yeah, what do they do?
Basically, what they do is that they destroy the natural leaf layer that you get in the woods, so you can't grow most of the woodland plants that you would normally be able to grow.
Oh. Huh. A worm with a white band on it.
Somebody mute whoever is playing with paper.
Yeah.
Jean, you have your hand up.
I don't know if you can see it. I just kind of Googled it. I don't know, can you see it? I have it on my phone and I'm holding it up.
No,
The snake one?
you're not showing it all.
Oh, okay. I don't know how you do that.
Laurie has to give you share rights.
No, she's just not, her video's not on.
Oh, she's trying to just show it from her.
I'm trying to
computer?
show it from my phone
But
that I'm
we're not-
holding up to the screen, but I guess you're not seeing me.
We're
We're not
seeing you.
do it all.
We're seeing your video. So if you go to the bottom left, there should be a thing that says start video.
Yeah, I'm hitting it. It's just not doing anything.
Hmm.
Oh, it says your camera is not live. Oh, well. Anyways, if you Google it, it looks like she said it looks like a regular worm with just kind of like a band around one end of it. So I had it on my phone and I thought you could see it, but I guess you can't. So anyway, sorry.
If you Google it on your computer, you should get a picture of it.
Yeah, okay. But the answer is to catch it, put it in a plastic bag and let it die in the bag.
Ugh.
Yeah. Okay. And if I happen to be the person you sent that article to, Ann, I'll still have it, so I'll look up and see if I can find it.
Yeah.
If not, I can send it to you again. Okay.
The issue is there's just so many of them. I mean, I have a ton of them here, so I'm killing it one at a time, but they seem to propagate very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Yuck.
Yes, exactly. Yuck. Okay, so I don't see Jill on, and she was going to talk about pruning. And so I think maybe we'll talk about controlling enthusiastic, aggressive spreaders, short of planting them all together on a hillside and letting them duke it out. So do people, and I think everybody has dealt with at least one of these, the lily of the valley, ajuga, myrtle, mint, English ivy, might even have planted them. As a neophyte gardener, I planted multiflora rose and English ivy and lily of the valley. Shoot me, I'm still dealing with it. So if someone has suggestions, please share.
I had some, I forget what it was, on aster, and it was really, really big. And one year they told me at the garden center to cut it back before 4th of July, and it got enormous. So the next year I didn't cut it, I just didn't bother, and it was smaller. But I don't think that helps you.
Not with Lily of the Valley.
So I have bindweed, which looks sort of like morning glory leaf vine with little white flowers that will shoot through any bed and strangle any other plant. So That bed is my next project. In the other bed, I had a kind of Artemisia weed that's a really common, like, side of the road highway, Artemisia vulgaris. When I got lazy when I was working, I thought, oh, I'll get to those weeds later. And 3 years later, it had taken over an enormous front bed. So I'm in year 2 of digging out the perennials, bare rooting them, brushing out and pulling out all of the other stuff, and then laying down layers and layers of newspaper with leaf mulch on top.
Oh,
And
wow.
I, keeping my fingers crossed, that bed is no longer overtaken by the Artemisia, but it grows through the newspaper seams. It grows, the roots can be probably 2 feet long. It will shoot to the nearby perennial looking for the light. But I'm hoping that if I keep weeding it and pulling it back, it'll maybe stay at bay. But a lot of newspaper and leaf mulch seem to be kind of working, and not planting or letting the weeds get overtaking your garden in the first place.
Yes.
The bindweed, unfortunately, is somewhat labor intensive. It comes back, it comes back, it comes back. You've got to dig down a foot to 18 inches to get the roots out. And even then, there'll be a piece and it'll come back. So the idea of putting, you can also use cardboard instead of newspapers under the mulch. It works fine. We've been doing it in the lanes between raised beds, and it's been keeping down the crap pretty well. Unfortunately, the bindweed, you just have to keep working at. Eventually you win.
Oh, well, Beth, that's very encouraging, because it was about 22 years ago that I bought what was labeled as white morning glories at the Benham plant sale, and put it right next to my lamppost, and that's all she wrote. It's been there for 22 years. It's a never-ending battle. So
I
yeah,
still
know
fight
what you're
that.
buying.
Yeah, I still fight that battle at Elm Bank. I think somebody planted it, like you said, as a morning glory, and it went bonkers over the fence at the big house. And
Marilyn, you have a comment too.
Yeah, I was gonna say that, yeah, as a novice gardener, I planted a Juga and Lily of the Valley and a couple others. And over the years, I'm talking decades actually, they eventually die out. But the thing that makes me a little bit crazy about these things, they die out where you wanted them and then they pop up where you didn't. But I've kind of taken a Zen attitude, like I'll be surprised where they pop up next. And if I like it, it stays. And if it doesn't, I pull it out. So that's how I deal with it. Just be Zen.
I also, as a novice planter, when I moved into our property, there was Lily of the Valley already, and I thought it was so pretty and smelled so nice. So I dug some up and planted it in other parts of the yard. Yeah. So now I'm fighting the Lily of the Valley. And I also bought a Juga and planted that. And now that pops up in in our yard. And yeah, so terrible stuff.
Yeah, I can say that persistent weeding cleared the bed that I put the Lily of the Valley in on purpose when I didn't know any better. However, I also want to say I didn't get any smarter, because I bought the pink one and somebody said, "Oh, it's not aggressive." And I thought, "Oh, well, that'll be nice." and I planted the pink one all the time while I was ripping out the white one someplace else. I planted another pink one. Guess what? It likes my yard. Why won't the bunnies eat it? I would be happy if they would eat it and not my house.
Shirley.
Of course, a lot of you know I battled the lily of the valley, and of course I brought it into my yard myself too, naturally. This year I tried putting vinegar and salt in together and spraying it around the lily of the valley. And just before the landscapers came, I had one small piece of landscape cloth. I put that down area and I put the wood chips over that. That looks like that area was okay. And the lily of the valley that I sprayed with the vinegar and the salt looks like it's, but it really isn't. It's like, oh well, try it anyway. So it's tough to get out. I've even tried. Catherine told me you really have to dig it out and you know, go through the soil. Well, I tried that last fall. Well, that didn't work. So it's really tough. So I wish there was a good solution, but so far there's not too much other than a lot of work.
I inherited a bed of lily of the valley. It was a strip actually on the far side of the house where we don't go. I'm not growing anything. There's no garden there. So it's a big patch of lily of the valley, and it's
Well,
probably...
I have some lily of the valley up in the woods, up in the back. How you know how my yard goes up? That can grow as I don't care, but I don't want it down in near where the yard that I use because it just overtakes the yard. It's terrible.
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
Big size. The roots just go so deep on it. It's just so much more of work than many
Yeah,
other.
long. Yeah, long.
And long, yes, and any tiny little piece. The vegetable I planted that did the same thing was horseradish. I planted it in a bed that was, our yard is multi-layered levels, and I planted it at a higher level, and then a tree fell on the wall, and the wall broke. And so the plant broke into a bazillion little pieces, and for the next 10 years, we pulled out horseradish plants from the lawn, from every garden we had, because the soil got spread around. We didn't know.
Wow.
So, yeah, I think there ought to be a warning. Some of you are realtors. When you sell a house, give a list to the new homeowner. Do not plant the following 6 things, because you'll spend the rest of your life trying to undo it.
That's funny.
Okay. So I'm so happy nobody mentioned real poisons. That's good.
So anybody have a suggestion for English ivy? Because there's a patch that grew under my neighbor's fence and I neglected to take care of it. And now there's a little wooded area that is shot through with English ivy. Any good ideas? Move, right?
Yeah.
I have some, and all I could do is put on lots of newspaper and mulch over it. And I did.
Did that work?
Other spots I have, and it did work. But I put a very thick layer and put lots of mulch on top and never touched it for the year.
Boy, that newspaper and leaf mulch, nice natural way of killing things.
Okay.
Judy, did you have something else? No.
Oh, no, sorry. I have to lower my hand. I'm not good at the switch here.
All right.
Okay.
Any more hands for that, Catherine? You there, Catherine? Whoops.
She's muted on my screen.
It's not clear.
Yeah, so she's both on the Zoom and mute, and then she's on her phone to talk
I
in.
see.
But I feel like we've lost her.
Oh, no.
She's still on the precipitant list.
She's still on the list.
Yeah. Catherine.
She doesn't have a mic.
Yeah, so she's on the participant list because she's in the Zoom, but not with her voice because her computer doesn't have a microphone. So then she calls in separately.
And then she hung up when she was trying to unmute herself.
Here she is.
Okay.
Right. So now she's on the participant list as a phone number.
I'm back.
Welcome back, Catherine.
It's ridiculous. Okay. So I think if anybody in this group is comfortable talking about pruning, we'd be happy to hear about what gets pruned when. But if not, we can move on talking about what grows well in intermittently flooded areas. Jill sent me something saying this is the exact definition of a rain garden. And there are a lot of plants that are suited to a rain garden. And she sent me a link, so I will make sure that everybody gets that. But do people other than Lori and Brian have areas in their yards that are flooded in the spring and then intermittently when we have heavy rain, but otherwise are just normal soil and dry out like the rest of the yard?
Willow, dappled willow, if they want a shrub, it grows beautiful with moisture. Winterberry, that will grow in a moist area if they want shrubs. As far as perennials, I don't know.
Well, I'll tell you what I managed to grow there is some, just plain big green hostas that don't seem to die no matter where I put them. And so I just plop them in that and they fill the space. But yeah, we live on a hill we live on a hill. And so in the spring or when it rains, all the rain comes down and sort of gathers in one part of our yard. I mean, we should spend the money to get our yard better planed or whatever. But in the meantime, I just have this area that gets very soggy and just trying to figure out how to make it still not look like a soggy mess. So, Judy.
So we have a lot of roof line on our house, and in heavy rains, the front of the house would have the same issue, that the front yard would get almost boggy when we first moved in. We had a front porch put on, and the contractor said that if we sunk a dry well out front, it would take care of it. I mean, it just involved digging up the yard, putting in a big concrete thing, filling it with gravel, backfilling it and re-landscaping. But now I have a very dry yard. So, oh God.
Okay, so I can tell you that some of the plants that Jill recommended are Joe Pye weed and swamp milkweed and cardinal flower.
Oh yeah, cardinal flower. Yeah.
And Ann has her hand up.
I have a stilby which have self-seeded in an area that periodically gets wet. Also Siberian iris.
Oh, right.
Oh. Oh, awesome. Somebody will have Siberian iris in the sale, I'm sure.
Yes, a lot, yes. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. That's it. I'm gonna ask then that we move on to the rodent question. I am so sad. I had gorgeous, gigantic hostas destroyed by some critter, and I don't know whether it was a rabbit or not. I had treated it with what was recommended, and all the other hostas were successfully repellent to
Unmuted.
but
Terry.
Oh,
giant hostas got chewed to bits. They're shredded, and I was so angry. I dug them up because I was not. So anybody who can offer helpful things for chipmunks and bunnies, I'd be happy to hear it.
I read someplace on the internet about getting creatures to stop digging in your yard and coffee grounds. So I've been saving, I don't drink a lot of coffee just in the morning, but I've been saving my coffee grounds and spreading them around the front and the back yard. And it's helped the squirrels digging. But I haven't tried it with rabbits or anything like that. I did throw some down a woodchuck hole, and so far, I don't know what's happened to the woodchuck. I don't know. It's nothing gained, nothing lost. So, yeah.
Yeah. Anyone else?
Yep. Here. I read the same article on coffee grounds, and I have a chipmunk who is coming up under my Carol Mackey Daphne, which I am hysterical about. So I put the coffee grounds down the hole, and he stopped. He filled it in, but then he went somewhere else. I mean, he moved just like 2 feet away. So I'm not sure it was a real stop. I like deer defeat. You can get it out of the Hudson River Valley, and that works really well for a lot of things.
What was the name again, Sue?
Deer defeat. DEER. You have to order it from, Google it online. I don't remember where it's from. It's from the Hudson River Valley. Somebody brought it up a few years ago. It's not cheap, but it works really well.
So deer defeat works. Okay.
It works on a lot of stuff. It always saves my tulips, and I just spray it on the hostas as well.
Okay, because I have had success with all the other hostas except these two big gorgeous ones with plant skin,
right?
Which Ann recommended last year.
Right, Jerry and I bought that this year, but I'm not sure. I mean, they're still eating certain things, so.
What was it again?
Plant skid.
Yeah, SKYDD. And it's safe enough to put on vegetables, which is one of the things that made me happy about it.
I've had some success this year using minced garlic. I had followed Shirley's lead and had Oh Dear come over every month, and it got expensive. So I started looking around online, and a lot of those companies, the base ingredient is garlic. So I just went to Market Basket and bought a few jugs, and once a month went around the yard. And this is the first year I've had tulips in my yard. So for what that's worth,
wow.
It's worked for me. Yeah.
Doris.
Or chipmunks. They like woodchucks like a tidy hole. And for my chipmunk holes, and I've had many, I take a rubber glove, which we all have plenty of these days, or disposable plastic ones, and a bag of used kitty litter, of which I have plenty because I have 4 cats. And I go out and I take dirty kitty litter and kitty poop and stuff it down the chipmunk holes. And they may move a little bit away or far away, but the point is they move. I haven't had to contend with a woodchuck yet, although I saw one walk across my yard in the beginning of March. I don't know where he went, and I have not seen him since. I think he's waiting until my tomatoes ripen, and then he'll come back and show himself. So I don't think I have a chipmunk hole, but I had a question about the hosta that you said was shredded. Because deer usually chew mine right down. I have 6 deer that live in my backyard, and they usually will chew a whole row of hosta right down to about 8 inches. It looks like a lawnmower went over set on high. And
Yeah.
it looks horrible for about a week, and then it all grows back. I've never had it not grow back. I just ignore it. And they even come right up next to my house and eat some up there. Although I was really annoyed last week, they ate one of my jack in the pulpit. And I've never had them do that before. But it had to have been a deer. But I'm wondering if the leaves were shredded, if that might be something like a wild turkey or a bird that would shred, because rabbits don't shred. Deer don't normally shred unless it's a baby that wasn't able to bite through the leaf adequately. But that surprises me, and I wonder if it is shredded, if you just went out with shears and cut it off even so it doesn't look so ratty, and just let it grow. But
Well, this was when it was like 4 inches high. They just chewed it down to the ground, and it was not deer because it was the locations. Well, we just don't have deer, for one thing. But the location it was in, it had to have been a very brave rodent because it would have been cornered. It was in a corner. This was my Empress Wu, my 10-year-old Empress Wu, which grows to be 4 feet high. And now they just ate it to the ground. I have photos. It was heartbreaking. If I had seen them and had a shovel in my hand, they would have been dead.
I have a question for people that are spraying things on it. How often are you spraying?
After every rainstorm.
Really?
Yeah.
With deer defeat, you don't.
How often, Sue? I have deer defeat. How often?
I want to say it's every few months or so.
Really?
Yeah,
Has
you do
anyone-
not have to do it after a rain.
Oh, wow.
Has anyone used Bobex? BOBBEX?
Yeah.
Martha used to use it with some success, and she used the Bob XR as well, Martha Emerson. Bob XR being the rodent or rabbit or whatever. Specific.
Yeah. I've found it somewhat helpful, not against rabbits though.
Yeah.
Nothing has helped my rabbits.
I have mixed reviews on that, on the bottom.
I've used Repels All. It really works, I find. And now I have liquid fence, and that seems to work. And what it basically is rotten egg smell, like in the lab when you were a kid.
Yeah.
Basically, one of the things that I read, at least about deer, is that if you use only one repellent, they get used to it. And you basically are better off alternating. In other words, if you spray spray with Bobex, and then if you're spraying again, say a month later, use another deer repellent.
That makes sense.
Question for Doris. For the kitty litter and the plastic gloves, what do you do when the woodchuck or whatever is gone? I mean, do you pick it up?
It just disintegrates. It breaks down because you're stuffing it into the hole. So you don't see it. You can put a little mulch or something over it if you want it. I've never had to do anything. It just it just fills the hole, and then it's gone. You don't see it. It doesn't smell bad or anything. But the
Right, maybe-
animals don't like it.
Yeah.
Doris,
Whoever has cats might put that in the auction.
right, Doris, I was gonna ask if you make it available in small bags or.
Oh, yes, because when I scoop my litter boxes, I put it into small paper bags each day when I scoop. So I always have bags. Come on by, I'll give you all you want. I'll even put it in a plastic bag instead of a paper one.
So, and are there serious coffee drinkers? Because I know at one point I got coffee grounds at Starbucks to put around a rhododendron.
Oh,
But we don't drink enough coffee for it to be useful as a repellent. So if somebody wants to save their coffee grounds, I'll come get them.
I'd be very happy to save your coffee grounds.
I also heard human hair, but it can't be dyed. They don't like human hair.
right.
So,
And
I
hair
don't
of the dog.
yeah.
Hair of the dog. Last summer, my granddaughter was with me. She had a dog, and she put the dog's hair.
Did it work?
And we put down the woodchuck holes. So it helped, but not too much.
Okay. Okay.
So you take the dog's hair and sprinkle it around the plant?
Well, you can do that, but we just shoved it down the holes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I did not get the name of the product after Repels All. Somebody said two things, and I didn't get the second one. I think it was you, Sue. I'm not sure.
I think it was Carolyn.
Oh, okay. Oh, well.
No, maybe not.
Nope.
The other thing that I used to use, and I don't use it anymore because
I'm sorry, I was
spray a lot.
muted.
Okay.
Hi. I
I
was
use
using,
it by thing a coyote urine and with hot pepper. I'd boil the hot pepper on the grill and put that in with coyote urine and go around the circumference of the yard so the deer wouldn't come in and all the other stuff. And the woodchucks, we had a big problem with woodchucks. That helped for a while, but you really had to be vigilant and almost do it every night. So, yeah.
Carolyn?
hi. Well, you know what? I was using coyote urine too, and then I read about it. And basically the coyotes are like tortured. They're like kept in these pens, and I decided not to use it anymore because of that.
I don't use it anyway, so.
Yeah, I just like, I can't deal with that.
Yeah.
So I started using rabbit scram, and it basically what that is dried blood, and it's in granules, but it's very hard to keep around. So I switched to Repels All, which I really liked, and it really worked. And I got that at, I think it was Home Depot. And then I was at Fran's a week ago, and I got a product called Liquid Fence Deer and Rabbit Repellent. But it's basically the same thing. It's putrefied egg with garlic and thyme oil.
Right.
Oh, that's good.
I mean, it's not perfect, but it's okay.
Yeah.
Okay. It sounds like we need an arsenal, and we need not to use the same thing.
Right.
One of the other things is that you can, especially if you don't have pets or small children, put poisonous plants around the perimeter.
To put what? I'm sorry?
Poisonous plants
Oh, sure.
around the perimeter. It tends to keep some of the animals away.
Like what?
Foxglove.
Allium. I mean, there are several plants that are poisonous, and some of them are ornamental. The one I'm thinking of has these enormous monkshood.
Monkshood is very poisonous and you can use that on the perimeter.
Okay.
In our community garden, a number of people put a row of onions around the perimeter or garlic around the perimeter of their raised bed so that it could deter the critters. I don't know how successful it is. It's also a place that has a 6-foot fence around it. So I think the fence might have more to do with it, but I have a fair amount of allium and garlic stuck in my beds, hoping to keep the bunnies and chipmunks at bay. The hawk that sits on our telephone pole and apparently has nested in the white pine down the street, I think also does a really good job. So we root for him every night.
Yeah. Okay. And I think I'm the only one who saw Marilyn's reply when I sent out the list. We all have squirrels, bunnies, chipmunks, but Marilyn had a pair of woodchucks climb up her dogwood tree to eat the blossoms.
Oh.
No.
Wow.
That's horrible.
That's pretty unusual.
Yeah. So, you know,
pair of woodchucks crawling up the dogwood tree to eat the blossom. Really, I've never seen them.
So I think we're staying home more. We should see fewer of these critters. Maybe you see more coyotes because we're not on the roads as much, but they should go away.
Not.
All right. So I have a whole bunch of possible things, and that'll be nice to send out. And I think we have covered everything except the trees that Marcy wanted to know about whether or not she should take them down. And I think that's a town ordinance kind of thing. I don't know. I do know that leaving a dead tree, if it's not dangerous, provides shelter for wildlife, especially the woodpeckers. But does anybody have information on whether or not there's a requirement to take down trees on your property? I don't know.
A requirement to take down trees on your property if they're dead?
Well, I think if you have a tree that's dead and leaning towards somebody else's property, it's your duty to take it down, because even though it lands on somebody else's property, then it's their responsibility. But you don't want to have anybody get hurt. So if it's near a house or if it's near yard lines, have it take down. If it's out in the woods and it's not doing anybody any harm, leave it. Let it go of itself. Save yourself some money taking it down.
Okay.
Marilyn?
Yeah, well, I was going to tell you about my woodchucks. One thing about being home is that you're around your garden a lot more. And I could not believe when I saw this woodchuck in my dogwood tree. I've been battling this woodchuck for 3 years, and now there's 2 of them. And I discovered that one of them was living under my shed and the other one was living under my next door neighbor's shed. So I have built up like a fortress of rocks, and every couple of days I come out and that damn thing has pushed aside rocks. There must be 20 rocks at this point, like as many. I keep trying to find bigger ones. And I actually didn't see the woodchucks for a few days, and I thought finally my fortress worked, but I saw it today. So I felt very defeated.
We didn't have critters as long as we had a dog.
Yeah,
So,
that's
you know,
amazing to get
medium-sized
one.
rocks, I don't know, a medium-sized dog is probably a good antidote, but a little bit of a
Well,
tough.
the other thing, so looking at the garden, I was wondering if anyone else, my husband spied and actually took a picture of a white squirrel. Has anyone ever seen a white
No.
squirrel in their garden?
No.
It's
Yeah.
one in my son's girlfriend's house in Boston. That's all I know. Yeah.
What?
An albino.
Maybe it's albino.
It's got, so there is no such thing as a white squirrel, so it has to be albino.
Yes.
We
I
had,
I don't think it
squirrel
has to be albino. There's a white squirrel that lives in the public gardens in Boston.
Yeah.
Usually albino people or animals have pink eyes. This one had brown eyes. So I don't think it's albino.
So certain species have white, you know, like white fox, and you think there actually is a white squirrel?
How did you
I
get
don't
close
know.
enough to see the eyes?
Well, I took a picture and I actually tried to widen it and see if the eyes were pink, but I can't. It's not, the picture's taken through a screen door. It's not a good enough shot. But that was exciting.
So Marilyn, Google says that the odds of seeing an albino squirrel are just 1 in 100,000, but you would have to know if his eyes were pink or not. So keep looking.
But there are white squirrels.
I was just Googling albino squirrels. Yeah.
I saw a white squirrel in the public garden and it was pretty tame. So that's how come I could see its eyes. It came right up to me.
Huh.
Oh my gosh.
You sure it wasn't just really old?
Oh,
that could have been it too, yes.
So the Mother Nature Network says that most of the white squirrels seen in North America are genetic color variant of the eastern gray squirrel.
There we go.
Okay.
You know, when in doubt, just Google it. Don't always
Pretty
believe what you
exciting,
read.
though.
And you have your hand up.
I had a squirrel for about 3 years whose tail was totally white. The rest of him was brown.
Oh, cool.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was about 2 or 3 years, and I missed him after he was here no more.
I don't know. I have so many squirrels, I couldn't keep track of which ones they are.
I have black ones. Does everybody else have black ones?
No.
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 I've seen
Oh,
black
yeah.
ones more south of here.
Yeah, no, I have a lot of black, and they fight fiercely with the gray ones.
Huh.
And sometimes this winter, before we were locked down, but just during the winter, for amusement, I would throw out bird seed on the lawn and watch them fight.
Next, you're gonna have cockfights. What?
Elizabeth.
The black squirrel is pretty popular in the Philadelphia area and is actually a mascot of my one of my daughter's colleges.
Oh, really?
Oh,
Oh, that's funny.
And they're kind of cute looking. They're cuter than our gray ones, I think. But anyways, it's a college mascot for Haverford College in Philadelphia.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. Little tip.
Go squirrels.
Yeah, go squirrels. That's funny.
So the only topic left is pruning, and it's another question from Marcy, and I don't know enough to offer any suggestions for anything more than hydrangeas, and I prune those in the spring, in the summer after they're flowered, rather. But anybody who has knowledge and wants to speak up, great. Otherwise, I'm going to refer her to our speaker, whose name has gone out of my head, but we had a speaker on pruning not that long ago, a young woman who's local to Natick.
Jen.
Oh,
Cattell.
Jan can tell.
Oh,
Thank you. Yeah, I get her newsletter and I'll forward that to Marcy. But if people want to talk about what to prune when, we're happy to hear it.
Well, I thought rule of thumb was pruning after flowering. No?
Yes, I think so too. But if you have something that doesn't particularly look like it flowers.
And I think you have to look up each one and then look into when it should be pruned.
But you have to know what you have.
That's true.
Well, there you go.
Elizabeth, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I wanted to know, what about lilacs? Do people ever prune their lilacs?
I did, thinking it was going to like compact it, and where I cut it off, it might sprout more growth, but it was the opposite. It just kind of seemed to kill that stem. So actually, I'm taking my lilac out because I just can't put anything else under it. So. I don't know about lilacs.
Well, I thought another rule of thumb was never more than a third at a time.
Correct. Yeah.
Right? That's another rule of thumb.
Yep.
So you do little bits. If, let's say, you wanted the plant to be half its size, you would do about a quarter 1 year and then another quarter another year. You don't just whack it in half, or that's the scientific term.
Right.
And the other thing that I've learned all these years as a gardener is the more you care about it, the worse it happens. If you don't care, it's fine.
Yeah.
Right?
True. I think that is absolutely true.
I wanted to just, can I just say something about the lilacs? Because I have a lilac that's probably 4 or 5 years old and it's bloomed every year. But this year I only got one bloom on it. And I think it might be because I pruned it in the spring before. So I don't know, does it grow, do the blooms grow on old wood like hydrangeas?
Yeah.
Yeah. When did you prune it?
I think I pruned it like about a month or so ago, maybe like.
Oh, you pruned it this year? Yeah, you
Yeah.
you don't prune it in the spring. You let it grow.
Yeah.
Yeah, you cut everything away.
Yeah, okay. And then do they like lime? Someone said that they like lime. Does anybody know?
Oh,
lilacs do like lime, yes.
And you usually prune them after they flowered.
Yeah, don't ever prune them.
Okay.
And I
Most
thought they
spring,
like to bloom on old wood, so you're better off not pruning them. You know, if you prune the wood away, then they're not going to bloom.
well, also any spring blooming plant, it's all there. You're just cutting away all the blooms, so you wait till after.
Elizabeth.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so I haven't, they're still blooming, but they're just kind of getting out of control. So I wanted to cut it back a bit. So maybe after it's done, I'll just cut it back like a quarter and see what happens.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Thank you.
So Judy just asked if I would take a screenshot of us so we'd have a picture of our meeting. So I'm gonna do 2 because I don't see everybody in the one page. So everybody should
me turn-
smile. Oops, somebody was getting up.
I know, really.
I just
Smiley.
realized it was dark. Wait a minute.
Oh, beautiful, Marilyn.
Well, it was dark, you know.
I think I did it.
Thanks.
All right, let me do the next page. Command Shift. Great. Okay, I heard a little click like I took a picture, so hopefully I've got 2 pictures going. We'll see. All right.
As soon as there's hairdressers start, won't look like this anymore.
That's right. Could I ask a question that's not on the list? Could I ask?
Sure.
Okay, today I was, with a little help, I was trying to move some plants around and one is flowering and I was afraid to move it. Should I wait?
Yes.
Yes, okay. I mean, I'd aggravate it if I did it too soon, right?
It depends on your karma. I have a.
I think I have bad karma now. I don't have good karma.
Seriously, I worked with a woman who used to be able to dig up blooming peonies and plant them.
Really?
Yeah. She was just amazing.
Huh. Wow.
But in general, wait until it's not their season.
Okay.
And is that because when they're flowering, it's like they put all their energy into that, so that's not a good time to move it?
What if it's not flowering? It's just there. Can you move it?
When will it flower?
It probably won't. I don't. Oh, it's going to flower, so maybe I should leave it alone. Okay.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. I just don't know when you can transplant things. I'm not sure.
What is it?
Yeah, what is it?
I don't know. I forget the name, but it's going to get flowers, and probably because it does usually.
If it's not in bud, you probably could do it. It just makes sure
Really?
you water it regularly.
Yeah, I'm a little, okay, I'm nervous. Okay, I'm gonna leave it.
That's the thing. If you do it now, you have to baby it.
Okay, nah.
You know, if you wait till it's not going to be so hot all the time, September's a good time. You don't have to baby quite as much.
Okay.
So that actually turns out to be one of the few benefits of not having to dig everything up all at once for the auction.
Mm-hmm.
Is that we get to enjoy our own flowers.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, to that point, I've bought things at the auction that have not yet flowered and plopped them in the ground and had them grow. So, I think, you take a risk by digging up things and transplanting them, but sometimes it works.
Okay.
That goes back to what I said before. If you care about it, it might not, but if you don't, it will.
Right. Okay.
I'd like to say, everyone, it's just so wonderful to see you all and to hear your voices, and I miss everybody.
Yep.
Same here, Mary.
Yeah.
I'm gonna brag about peonies. So I bought peonies at the auction 2 years ago, and then they've grown but not flowered. And I went out yesterday, and I have 9 buds on it. I'm so excited.
It's a nice wet spring.
Yeah.
So, I see Marilyn, you have your hand up, Elizabeth and Anne. Do you mean to have your hands up?
No, me? No, I'm sorry.
Anne McCann,
Someone hasn't
I
muted.
forgot
And
what I was gonna say, don't
Anne
worry.
Marie, yeah.
I forgot. what I was going to say. Don't worry.
And Ann Caton?
I don't remember what I was gonna say, so I lowered my hand.
Okay. So
I
Catherine,
have a question. Oh,
okay.
I have a question also unrelated to anything. I have a spider wart that it must be 30 years old, and it was living in the back and never got bigger than a foot. And I transplanted it to the front, and every year it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And this year it's 2 feet high already. And I saw one at Doug Pond that was bigger than me. And like, how do I stop it from getting so big?
Keep separating it. You have to keep dividing it.
Oh. Is it too late?
No, it's an ongoing
The bird
process.
bloom. If you want to kill it, just make it smaller. You can do spider wort almost any time.
Okay.
I pulled out about a half a bushel of spiderwort that was invading one of my gardens. It just keeps growing and growing and growing. And no matter what I do, it'll still come back, whether I like it or not. It's like the lily of the valley, the same concept that you just have to keep an eye on it.
But in back, it was never taller than a foot. It was there like 20 years. And then I put it in front where I do water it. And it got
happier. It's happier in front.
Yeah, it probably gets more sun, it's every plant, even dwarf plants can grow huge if it's in a location they like.
Yeah, I have a dwarf Solomon seal that never gets taller than 6 inches, but Melanie's gets 18 inches tall, and it's still called dwarf. And so it depends on the soil and the sun and the water, and yeah.
Yeah.
Well, dogs pee on it a lot because it's near the sidewalk. So I don't know if that helps.
I think that would hurt it.
It's calling fertilizer.
Yeah, you would think.
Yeah, extra nitrogen.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Do we have more questions?
Nope, we covered everything.
8:30.
Yep, we covered it all.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Keep thinking about the sale, and we'll all stay in touch over the next couple months.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.
Good night.
Sorry.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Stay safe.
Bye.
Okay.